Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, over our last couple of weeks, the flow pattern in the upper levels of the atmosphere has kind of favored something a bit more like this, a very highly amplified trough ridge pattern that's pushed up into western parts of North America and into Alaska. When these deep cutoff lows that keep coming down right in through here and have been barreling through parts of our southwest, specifically California, over to Arizona and New Mexico. And we can see how that trajectory has pushed here into the Central Plains and kept things very wet in this area as well. Meanwhile, we've kind of missed the corners of the United States, as you can see here, with the northwest and parts of the southeast quite dry. Well, the big things we need to be talking about is what did this precipitation, this recent precipitation, do to our overall water picture here, and do we have any changes that are important to be talking about? And the answer to both of those things is yes. Let's start off with the precipitation. I'm going to stick to California with the initial part of this. You're looking here at the Northern Sierra Precipitation Index. So this is looking at 8 stations in the Northern Sierra, and we're going to watch this very carefully throughout the rest of winter. And as you've seen me detail before, this is our average rate of accumulation starting in October, going to October, and right now we are finally right almost back to close to normal. So you can see, if I take off my drawing there, you can see we're sitting right here with our current precip. So this is good. Things were very dry to start off, and this recent precipitation has brought us back up. Sliding a little bit farther to the south into the San Joaquin precipitation region. So this has got 5 different stations contributing to it. We're actually right back to average down here. So this is critical snowfall that's happening in the mountains that we're going to need all winter long. And with that, you can take a look at what our current basin average snow water content looks like. Now, when you look at this diagram with me, I want you to notice a couple of things. The reporting stations in the Sierra Nevada are all currently sitting at 150 to 260% of normal. You can see that the values over here on the east-facing slopes of the Rockies are also very high, and they're high down here in the Four Corners states. It's this region up through here where we are missing out on the decent snowpack at this point. And some of the big reasons for that, of course, has been because of the flow coming more out of the northeast over this region with the most recent flow pattern here as it kind of curls around these lows in this direction. So here we go. This is the best part I could probably talk about here in this entire video, especially for those of you watching in the Northwest. If you remember in yesterday's video, I said the GFS was a deeper trough off the West Coast getting into the week 2 time period. It was also more progressive and aggressive with the pattern. And take a look at this. The European ensemble for week 2, so remember, this is getting us all the way up to Christmas, okay? This is all the way up to Christmas, that week 2 time period in both models, GFS over here on the left, European on the right, and take a look. Now, both of them painting a much wetter picture. So what has to happen to get this to occur? We need to be seeing a whole lot more lows forming here with highs to the south, and the flow between just shoves the air. It's kind of like one of those, sporting equipment, piece of equipment where they can throw softballs, baseballs, footballs by putting between these 2 spinning wheels. That's what's happening right now. So we're going to be taking aim on parts of Northern California, Oregon, and Washington in the coming days. And this is a critical change in the overall flow pattern of the atmosphere. So let's get into it. Starting things off, not too much to worry about in the near term, okay? When we look out here just in today's all hazards weather map, it's mainly a fog problem that we're seeing across some of our valleys here in the western part of the United States, particularly parts of the Central Valley of California and the I-5 corridor up there in parts of Oregon. Off the coast, very windy conditions though, and take a look at this. This is kind of fun. So this is in Medford. So here we are looking at the temperature profile of the lower atmosphere. So this is temperature, and this is dew point temperature, and this is going up in the atmosphere. So this is from a weather balloon. And if you notice, this line right here that I just traced out, that means that the temperature at the surface, which is 36 degrees, is actually colder. It's colder than the air 2 miles above it. Deep inversion, saturated at the surface. That's why we got all this fog. But look how dry this air is above this. Now, we got to get rid of that in order to bring in the precipitation, and we're about to do that because take a look at the winds that are just off the course. This is also from Medford, Oregon, and we can see here that we're expecting wave heights 20 to 25 feet because look at the storm system cranked up here in the Gulf of Alaska. Now, these winds right in through here, which are causing our problems today just along the California and Oregon coast, are nothing compared to the winds that are tucked away inside of this low that's spinning offshore. And we need to see when that's coming on shore and what is following it. But before I do that, take a look. You see the high pressure cell here and the low pressure cell there. whoops, I put an H, I'm sorry, and the low pressure cell there, well, it's going to be in between the two in the upper levels that we're just going to be shoving in that moisture. And I'm pretty excited to see this change over to a wetter pattern here for us. So in the near term, let's just watch how things progress. There's our first coastal kind of push of rainfall. This is not coming into early this afternoon here into coastal Washington, Oregon, and then it gets into northern California by middle afternoon. So that pushes in, goes over the mountains. Snow levels are relatively high as it's still quite warm here. So we're talking well above, I think, 5,000 feet at this point for getting some snow here in the Cascade. But that pushes through. And then by the time we get into 12 a.m. Wednesday morning, look at the snow that's moving through interior parts of Oregon. Lighter showers moving into the San Francisco Bay Area and the Sacramento Valley, and then pushing up over the Sierra. But notice as we get into parts of Idaho, this is now getting into early tomorrow morning on Wednesday. I'm not anticipating too much precip in the Snake River Valley, and you can see the model's trying to hint at potentially giving you some ice over here, Boise area, okay? Still, this is not the big event, okay? So it comes through, brings in some snow to the Sawtooth, gets down there into parts of northern Utah, northern Nevada, and then that's out. Now look, here's the next big push of precipitation coming through Wednesday afternoon and evening, and that pushes on in. Now this is pretty wet time period here, starting Wednesday afternoon, getting through Thursday morning for all of the Northwest. Look at this coming in here. And we're going to be pushing in some snow into the upper levels. This will bring some rain into the Snake River Valley, as you can see, with snow as you get over into the eastern part of the Snake River Valley. And that is just the beginning of a very active time period. Now, before I show you the rest, take a look at what the atmosphere is advertising. Remember, we're looking for deep troughs to just come sliding out of the Gulf of Alaska and run into the Pacific Northwest into Northern California. And there we go. See it coming through here. This is now getting into Wednesday. And if you just look with the low here, upper level low there, and the surface high down here, in between the two is the strong jet stream flow. And that's why Thursday we see it. There comes our next trough in toward the weekend coming in there. You get a little bit of a break with a little ridge early next week, but look at the trough sweeping through there. This is next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And the GFS has even got this sucker deeper than the European. I'm sorry, I'm a little excited about this because this is the first break in the pattern we've seen to bring in some significant precipitation, especially to the Pacific Northwest, where we saw in a few moments ago things are pretty dry. And that pattern wants to hang on as we get out here to Christmas Eve and even a little bit beyond. So we're going to watch this carefully. Let's go right in and zoom in on our western region. Look, watch this high, watch these lows. You'll just see with time this high slowly meanders this direction and the lows come over the top of it, and the two things can do this nice little dance around one another, bringing in that stronger flow. So we've talked about Wednesday, so through Wednesday. So this is now getting you out to Thursday morning. This is now Friday morning, Friday afternoon. Look at the next push coming in here for Saturday into Sunday. I mean, it just keeps coming into the Pacific Northwest. And here we are on Monday, getting into Tuesday. So it's coming in rounds. Remember, I told you early next week you get a little bit of a break, but the next big round lashes in on Tuesday. Look at the lows coming right here over the top of this high. So this is now looking out toward Wednesday, getting into Thursday evening. I mean, it's coming through in multiple waves. You do get brief breaks from it, but this is the atmosphere advertising its more normal flow pattern for this time of year. Remember, for Northern California, Oregon, Washington, the end of December, beginning of January is the wettest time of year. So this is what we should be anticipating when we see these precipitation totals come in. Now, what's it doing to our temperatures? Well, in the near term, the coldest air is kind of anchored to a deeper trough that's sitting here in and around the Hudson Bay. So you see overall warmer conditions, but this isn't going to be warm like it's still winter time, and we're going to be seeing all that precipitation. So the flow's coming in. It's just not the flow that comes in like this, which really gives us the deep cold that we saw earlier this fall. So getting you out here today, 6 through 10, it's very similar setup here, much closer to average on temperatures, maybe a slight cool bias. And then as you get out longer term into the 11 to 15 day time period, remember the deeper trough is now sitting in this area, so we do get that flow coming in like this, and hence the lack of bitterly cold air. So this is what we'd expect for this time of year. And I'm excited to be able to communicate that for those of you in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington watching this, okay? What's helping this colder air come into Alaska that's keeping the pattern cranked? Well, the polar vortex, as we discussed yesterday, was elongated like this. Remember us kind of detailing that out? Well, I said we need to watch out for if it becomes oriented a bit more like this. Now, unfortunately, we're not seeing, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate or not, but we're not seeing the split up of the polar vortex. When it splits, then we get stuck into a pattern, and then it gets really, really cold for some places and quite mild for others. But this particular change is going to be really cranking on bringing troughs here into this area, and that is going to help with the overall jet stream flow like this. So the stratosphere and the troposphere are certainly talking at this point. And there it is. Took you all the way out to day 10. That will be a result of a pattern like this. And that trough off the west coast is what brings in that flow just like that. So that's good news overall for our water picture for the rest of the year. No, it's not pleasant to live through, but it's water that we desperately need. And we all know this, okay? So what am I going to be talking about in tomorrow's long-range video? It's going to be this. We just saw released at the end of last week our new December, January, February outlook from the European model. Now, I think right now, some of the stuff I'll be discussing is that the European model is still being influenced heavily by the Indian Ocean dipole event, which is fading. It's also being influenced by the warm ocean temperatures in the North Pacific. And that's why we see wetter conditions into Alaska, wetter conditions here, you see that coming through, and wetter conditions there. That all tells me that the flow is going to be, well, that the moisture and the momentum transport is out of the tropics, and it's going to be coming in on two strong subtropical jet stream. I'll label them here, and our polar jet features that. What I'm going to tell you is I don't think this is the pattern that we're going to see the entire winter, and I'll explain to you why in tomorrow's update, okay? We'll talk to you then. Have a great week, and enjoy the precipitation that's coming in, because it's coming in droves in the coming weeks here, okay? Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.